Coming to you from the LoadingReadyRun orbiting underground moon base, it's the LRRcast.
Yay!
Hooray!
And this week it is myself, Paul, and James.
What up?
And Cam.
Hello.
We're continuing on our whole group of people answering sort of one large topic.
I'm excited. I've
we're
enjoyed what we started with the cringe stories.
Yeah.
And then we did an episode on Desert Bus.
Yeah.
And we did 2 of those each. And this week, this is the best of 2014.
Best of 2004.
24 did not make my list, by the way. Best of 2014, all sorts of media. So we'll talk about our stuff. We'll talk about TV and podcasts and movies and video games and all that stuff. And then Graham, Kathleen, and Alex will be in here later, and they'll do their version. And then I think Beej, Ian, and Jer will be in even further and do their version. Don't expect us to do 3 podcasts on one topic often. It'll probably just be 2. So,
yeah.
But this week it's special. People want to talk about all the cool stuff that came out this year,
and this seems like a good way of doing it so that we don't have 10 people behind.
Oh God, no!
Yeah.
I didn't even want 4. I was like, let's just do 3, 6. There's 9 of us. That's perfect. Go. So, but yeah.
All right. Well, so the best of 2014.
So we're gonna start with us, which is
obviously one of the best things of 2014.
Best things of 2014, yeah. So this year was the last year of the Loading Ready Run sketches. As of recording, we have 1 left to record, and the second to last will be going up very shortly. What was your favorite sketch we did this year, Paul?
I was thinking about this, and I mean it's on my mind because it's a fairly recent one, but I was so happy that we did The Wire.
Yes.
That has, if you look at the Google Doc sort of folder where we store all our scripts, that has been in that folder for at least 2 years. That script.
Created, I'm looking at it right now, created April 30th, 2012 at 11:43 a.m.
Yeah. So I wrote that script a really long time ago. I didn't think that it would be that hard to shoot.
Look, it wasn't it wasn't that hard to shoot.
It's just for some reason, there was always something else to do, or we didn't think about it. Like it was sort of always on the list, but we didn't really think about it.
It always required. The biggest problem, I think, is it required a pretty decent amount of people for those 2 very short shots. And every time it came to organizing the shoot, it was like, let's do The Wire. We need so many people. Okay, let's do something that doesn't require so many people.
Well, it's when and the thing is, we'd always, like, when we'd be looking in that scripts folder, it would always be like, oh crap, we need something.
Yeah.
Like normally when we're actually like prepared properly, we're like, okay, what script are we doing? Well, we're doing that one that we wrote, last week or something like that. And so luckily with it just worked out with Desert Bus, that because we shot this like the week before Desert Bus, so people were like, Johnny was here in town, and Ian and Corey, I mean, they actually have moved in here now, but they sort of came in right before Desert Bus. Yeah. And so it just worked out really well that we could actually do it. And also, I mean, originally the getting a location for it was a pain too. And for some reason, it was like just sort of before when I was thinking about actually trying to get that shot, I was like, we got to get this shot this year because this is the end of the thing. And I was like, wait a minute, we could do everything at the I was like, we tried to find like a bunch of different locations for like the like where the sort of surveillance would be, and where the special the like talking to the guy outside, and where the meeting would be. And I was like, wait a minute, the VEC actually like totally works for all of that stuff.
These things, yeah.
And then having the having the guys actually doing the surveillance in a real like dressing room with like a big mirror and everything, I thought it worked out really well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Cam, what was your favorite sketch of
Well, my favorite one was one I had actually nothing to do with, which was Everything Is Fine.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoyed like its frantic energy, and it hit one note beautifully. And it, yeah, I lolled.
Yeah, I was when I wrote that and I sent that, I sent the doc or the script off to everybody and usually I will sort of put a little note with it just to kind of try to get across what I was going for with the script. And for that one, I remember I was like, I know this is just one joke, but I'm hoping that the energy will be high enough and it's short enough that nobody will really notice that it's just the one joke.
Well, I mean, you notice it's one joke, but it just does it so well. It's like Son of a Bitch. Right?
Yeah.
Where that also was basically just one joke.
Yep.
But it fully explored the joke. It fully explored the joke's configurational space.
I believe this was also
Joke space, if you will.
Serge's first credit.
Oh yeah,
the
because
first
he was
time-
booming, wasn't he?
First time Serge boomed, and the first time he was actually on camera.
Yeah, he was on
Right,
camera, wasn't he? He
because-
was
No, he was the barista on one of the Friday nights
Yes,
Yes.
you're right. But
when he threw an egg or something.
yeah, that's right. Although he was essentially just playing himself there.
Right.
Here he was a character.
Ooh.
Yes.
And he actually had a line, I think.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So that one was filmed while we were in Detroit, wasn't it?
No.
I thought that was
No, because
James and Graham were.
well, I didn't go to Detroit.
No, that's
Graham
right.
did though. And Graham was absolutely there. I don't remember why you weren't there that weekend.
Oh wait, was that Kathleen Stag?
Oh, it might have been because I don't
Yeah.
remember
Oh,
Kathleen
yeah.
being there.
Yeah, that might have been. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, that was probably it. So I wasn't involved. I got to see it kind of when everyone else gets to see it because I don't read our scripts. To be perfect.
Not even the ones you're in.
No,
It's like
no,
give me my lines and I'll be out of here.
Oh, I don't even read my lines. I just wing it.
You just wing it. Where's my water? And just let me go.
Yeah. So that was super fun.
Cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought we had a very strong group of sketches this year, but that was just a standout for me.
Standout. Cool. So I also wrote down Everything Is Fine, but in preparation, I figured somebody else was going to say Everything Is Fine, so I wrote down another one, and that was Doctors Hate Her.
Oh yeah.
Doctors
Yeah.
Hate Her was
I mean, that was certainly one of the more ambitious ones.
Yeah, it was absolutely one of the bigger ones. It was. I remember the day was long. It was
Oh,
a
yeah.
very very long day. That was a full.
And we
then
didn't
even finish it.
We had to do a few pickups still.
But that video turned out so well, and everybody did such a good job, and it stood out. While I was looking through the list of everything we'd done this year, it was like, wow, yeah, that one was really, really good.
I mean, I think that one it's especially a testament to, what Graham does really well with when he writes scripts is because he's sort of in some ways he can be sort of the one-stop shop. Like he's, because he writes and he edits and does the special effects and stuff.
Yeah.
He can, that's not the kind of a script that I would write. But when he writes a script like that, he's simultaneously visualizing, he's visualizing filming it because he wasn't even in that script. I don't think or he was in very briefly,
yeah.
because he knew that he would be behind the camera the whole time, and he wanted to because he had a very specific, and he was like storyboarding it all out.
Yeah,
and so he knew exactly how it was going to look, and he had a pretty good idea of how he was going to do all the special effects, and
so
all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because he's fully aware of what we can and can't do, so it feels coherent and it looks coherent.
Right, and it takes it's some of the stuff that he put in the script is stuff that I wouldn't. The sort of can and can't do.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I don't know how we would actually do that. But of course, he has a much better idea of what is possible theoretically.
Yeah.
I especially like the how we ended up doing the prescription pad explosion with the
leaf blower.
The leaf blower
on the green screen. Yeah, that was good.
Which we have got a surprisingly large amount of use for, considering it's a leaf blower.
Yeah, it's true.
Like we originally got it for
Didn't we get it to make wind?
To do the wind tunnel for the Gears gear, I
Yes.
think, is what we originally got it for.
And then we used it for...
But we've used it for sort of equivalent, different wind tunnel, different wind effects, blowing things around. It's actually become surprisingly useful considering it's a leaf blower. I don't think it has ever blown leaves.
Well, we'll need to fix that. All right. So those were the sketches. Now, I'm curious. I wrote down other things. I don't know if you guys have thought about them. Best Commodore hustle.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you thought about it. I will say mine right now. The file.
Oh, the file?
Yeah,
The file was probably
where
my
everyone's sick?
the one where everybody is sick, where it's Cam who eventually has to come in. You and me are like wandering around town with a map, arguing, getting ice cream, and talking about bogs.
Yeah.
And then Cam doing the whole predator thing when he gets into the office, and
Like the security system in
the
the
security
office.
system, and everything
Yeah.
about. I loved that Commodore hustle. That was my favorite Commodore hustle.
Yeah, that was kind of like the fully magic realist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of the magic, not even realist, but I quite enjoyed the hustle that there was, there was Beej and I fixing the office.
Oh, fixing the stream?
Or fixing the stream.
Yep.
I thought that was quite fun.
Yeah.
That one got weird.
Yeah, that one was definitely wonky. I mean, the weird thing, especially in terms of behind the scenes for that, which we talked about, I think, in the loading time, was that we basically reshot maybe 75%
of the video,
of the video, just because of various issues we had with filming it, which was unfortunate, but it.
Well, I remember
I think that may be, it's one of those things where we're on such a tight timeline when we do stuff that, we don't have. So it sort of allowed us to have like a rehearsal.
Basically.
And the second time we shot it, it like went really, really fast. We knew everything really well.
Man, why didn't we start
and
doing
also
that 10 years ago?
Because the script had been written basically keeping in mind that there were only going to be 4 of us around.
Right.
So having a full crew back for the reshoots made it just go like...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember me, Graham, and Jer were down in Portland for the Grand Prix. That's why why we weren't here. And I remember we were eating breakfast on, I don't know, the Saturday or the Friday. It would have been the Friday. And I got the script. The notification came in. And I was sitting there and I was reading it. I'm like... We should not leave these people alone with themselves. What is this script? This is ridiculous. There's like breaking the timeline and stuff. It's awesome.
Well, I mean, like, and I like the idea that the Commodore Hustler crew has access to time travel now.
Yeah.
And are using it for just kind of meaningless stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, I wish I had a time machine so I could go back in time and like... the really petty things you say you would use a time machine for in the moment.
You actually are doing it.
Yeah. Like, how you think, oh man, if I had a time machine, I would go back to like 1990 Gen Con and buy up like a bunch of Alpha Magic the Gathering. Right? And then that other part of your brain goes, no, idiot.
There's way better things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether the crew having a time machine is actually going to make its way. I feel like maybe that's not going to show up too often in the regular Commodore Hustler universe.
Yeah.
But I also like how it's kind of like in step with what scientists say about time travel, and that you won't actually like go into the past, but you can send information back from the past or from the future.
Interesting.
And I also like that it's following on the standard sort of Paul as evil genius or as genius inventor thing, where it's like I can make basically anything as long as it's not useful.
Yeah.
That's the one limitation, is that it can't actually be anything that's functional.
All right. Best crap shot. Well, I dropped my phone.
Ooh.
Oh, there's so many.
There is a lot.
The one that actually went up today, yesterday, I'm a pretty big fan of.
The one with you guys all
Just
loading up the
everybody
guns.
with the guns.
And you comes to you in the wig. It's like, we're still a sketch comedy. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
was
that
really good.
was. I came up with that just like on the way to the office that day. I was like, we have way too many guns.
The ones I wrote down are the groceries. which was
yeah.
which was Beej's first venture into doppelganger land. I don't even know what's going on in those series, but it's awesome and terrifying, and I love it. And then the other one I wrote down, which I'm a little biased towards because I'm in them, but I really like the Shackle series. Mm-hmm. The 3 with me just chaining myself to random things and just yelling about it. Mm-hmm. So those are the 2 that stood out for me this year for sure.
No, yeah, I definitely agree on the groceries and the DUI.
Yeah.
Because I just like the idea that Beej isn't actually a person. The person that Beej is outside is just a host.
Didn't we? Weren't we talking about this the other day? Didn't we come to the conclusion that it's his insurance?
Oh yeah, because they all involve his car.
Yeah,
but he had a different car.
But he had a different car.
The DUI and groceries. So yeah, it's
not Beej.
It's not his car, but it's the insurance on his car
that gives him the ability to do this.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
because that's the only thing that's the same between them.
I really like the continuation of the cavemen.
Yes.
Krog and Torg.
Krog and Torg, and especially the ending up with the Tor and stuff, which was totally unintentional. It just happened to be, it's like, wait a minute, the guy's name's Torg. It's perfect.
It's right there.
Yeah. It was there in front of us the whole time.
All right, Friday nights.
Oh, definitely. The Groundhog Day one.
Yeah, Time Walking is what I wrote
walking.
down. Time Walking was absolutely, I think, the best Friday nights of this year.
Yeah, that one was...
maybe the best one we've done.
It is possible it's the best one we've done. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't know if we did any... I know we haven't really released loading times for Friday nights too much. But I'm wondering whether we actually recorded any of our... because I remember the brainstorming and sort of planning session for that script was very weird.
It was.
It was like we were trying to figure out how few loops we could do while still making it work.
Yeah.
Because of course, we want to keep it to a reasonable length.
Yeah.
And how much you have to show from each loop to kind of keep it going. But that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I just like that we got to incorporate a lot of the jokes that we make, or at least a couple of the jokes that we make, into a script. It felt very, very organic and kind of homey, because I mean, nobody has a time walk, but the thing where that's
the unrealistic part of that script.
is having a time walk. The time travel is way more plausible than us getting any power.
I mean, we've already established that we can do that. So,
but like flipping Tombstalker off Bob.
Yes.
Right, where you're like, Bobby, what you got for me? Death.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think we've all done that.
And it's, well, it's again, that sort of magical realism, which I think is a lot of fun.
All right, so that's all I had put down for us. Is there anything else, you guys? I was like, I'm not going to do the best LRRcast of the year, the best Tap Concede, but...
We talked about things really well.
Yeah.
So is there anything else?
No, I think I'm content to...
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big thing in 2014 was the whole, Kickstarter, that whole thing, which I obviously went really well.
Yep.
And for me, the actual streaming and things...
that was...
That took, way longer than it should have to kind of get sorted out, and get our technology up to where we wanted it to be. But I feel like we're getting pretty close to what we want.
Really good, yeah. I mean, it took almost the entire year to get like the streaming office is better than it's been all year right now. Mm-hmm. And I feel there's always going to be improvements that we can make to make it even better. But overall, I'm really happy with where it is right now. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to other people's stuff and stop talking about ourselves. Cam, talk about music.
Okay. My top albums for the year are... I don't have a specific order for them. Like, I've got a very nebulous, top 6 that I want to talk about. First off, Run the Jewels 2.
That is on my list.
By Run the Jewels. Killer Mike and LP. They're both, very seasoned rappers. They have amazing chemistry together. Really great beats. It's got a wonderful groove. It's got tremendous energy. It's very funny at times, but it's also very angry and frustrated. And it makes me happy, I guess. It makes me upset. It makes me angry. It runs me through an entire gamut of emotions, and it starts you off in one place and it takes you back there at the end.
Sweet.
So definitely check that out.
Not safe for work.
You definitely not.
Do
safe
not
for this.
listen
Do
to
not
this.
pump this around your mom.
Depends on where you're working.
I guess, but
Yeah. See, like my experience with it is like I'll either be listening to it at home, but more recently because Julie's mother has been letting us use her vehicle
yeah,
to run errands, I've been like cranking it up and like singing along with it. And then I become vaguely aware that I am like, you know, poorly singing along to like Kill a Mike on some of his freestyle rhymes in a white Kia. And people are like looking at me, and I realize I'm that guy from Office Space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
You also got to make sure that you
This is my
don't
life.
don't if it's you don't leave it on and then like leave the car for
oh yeah,
for mom.
yeah.
That would be pretty.
That
bad.
would be
That'd be
embarrassing. Also on my list, Ben Frost's Aurora. If you enjoy electronic noise music, Ben Frost has been getting better and better and better, all the way from Theory of Machines. A few years ago, he has done like a lot of tremendous work, and Aurora is just this amazing album from start to finish. Again, it has no weak moments. What do I really want to say about it? Listen to it. It's good. I've listened to it on stream a bunch of times. Not everyone complained about it, but a lot of people liked it, which I think is quite good for an album when you're just like listening to it over a video game instead of giving it like the full attention it deserves. So if you just go in, give it an hour of your time, put on good headphones.
I suppose unfortunately you can't actually listen to those streams because
because they're gone. The
Lost.
ironing is delicious. Owen Pallett's In Conflict. He used to be Final Fantasy. Now he's Owen Pallett. He's been that way for a couple of years. It's an album about getting old and entering middle age. It has this wonderful line in one of the songs about like...
You can't be that old.
No, like he's in his late 30s, I think. He's probably only a few years older than I am.
Really?
Or maybe my age even, which makes me feel awful. But yeah, he has this line about, hanging out with your friends and realizing that you're never going to have children, or probably get married or anything. And it's, how the last James Bond movie focused so heavily on James Bond getting old?
Yes.
And like losing his virility and any sense of vitality. In Conflict feels like that, only it's assertive instead of despairing. So it feels like it's about becoming mature, but not facing it with kind of despair.
Nice.
I mean, kind of being in conflict. What else did I have? Okay. I had at least 2 more albums on this list. Come on, brain. Oh, yes. Rat King's So It Goes. Rat King is a group, 2 rappers from New York. It's their first album, and it is great. They have like these wonderfully syncopated rhymes. They hit all the offbeats. It has a great drive to it, but it lurches along and it feels just a little uncomfortable, feels just a little out of step. It plays with this kind of like time signature dissonance. I don't know enough about music theory to really talk about it coherently, but like it's clever. It's again, yeah, it sounds good. It's clever. It's funny. They are punching far above their weight for a first album, considering how young they are.
Nice.
So check out So It Goes. And right. The Rural Alberta Advantages Mended with Gold.
And that was on my list too. Stop stealing my music.
I'm sorry, James. But yeah, Mended with Gold.
The Rural Alberta Advantage.
Yeah. I think it comes from an old Ralph Klein, who was the premier of Alberta for like 25 years.
Forever.
Yeah, but he had like the Alberta Advantage, which was his political leverage.
Okay.
So the Rural Alberta Advantage, I think a bunch of them, well, there's 3 of them. They were originally from Alberta, then they moved out to Toronto. And It's a very solid rock album. And on their first album, like, their drummer is amazing. And on their second album, it was like, we should have the vocals higher in the mix, said the vocalist. And everyone else got turned down.
What about
And I
me?
think the album suffered a bit for it. And here they have let him off the leash again. And it provides this amazing skeleton for the music to just kind of hang off of. And it's about a mile deep and wonderful. So those are my top 5, 6. No, 5.
I think that was 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Paul?
I don't listen to music.
You don't listen to music.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually I've like acquired new albums this year. So sorry.
No, that's cool.
Do you have any albums left, or did you take all of your albums?
I do. I have a lot of albums left. There's a lot of good albums out this year. I'm not going to go. I'll just sort of list them off and quickly.
Did you like you were doing a kind of a like
So, yeah.
deliberately trying to expose yourself to new stuff this year?
And I did. So late last year, I decided I wanted to do this 12, 52, 365 challenge. With the idea being that I would read 12 books, one a month. I would watch 52 movies that I've never seen, and I would listen to 365 songs. So, that did not happen. I set up the Tumblr. I even bought like a premium theme that I really liked, and I got about 6 weeks into it, and then we went up to Mount Washington in February of this year, and I busted the ever-loving fuck out of my shoulder. Like, so much so that it's still stiff right now.
Right.
And for whatever reason, whether I think it was 50%, I don't like this hurts. I can't actually like. I was out of work for like a week and a half, and I just didn't think about it. I fell off the train, and I think it was just an excuse as well. But I definitely did not keep up with it. That being said, I definitely tried to keep with the spirit of it, even if I wasn't sharing it with you guys. So I definitely did try to listen to new music.
Listen to more than you would have otherwise.
Yeah, and man, music streaming services are awesome because it just lets you discover so much music that you might not listen to. Like it got to the point where basically every Tuesday this week, I'm a RDO subscriber. I would just go to the new releases and I would just click play on random albums. Like, I don't know who this is, play. I know who this is. This is a new album I've been looking forward to. Play. Cam listened to this album. Play. I don't know what it is, but let's do it. Sort of thing like that. So that was a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good music. That
RDO do this thing where it like recommends stuff for you.
There is also recommendations and stuff like that as well. Yeah, for sure. So
just all Katy Perry albums.
Yeah, no, Taylor Swift. Come on.
Yeah.
So
it was the year of Tebe.
It was, yeah. So here's my list really quickly. Real Estate released a new album this year called Atlas. They released an album a couple years ago that I absolutely fell in love with, and it was probably my album of the year. It was incredible, and this one I don't feel hit quite the same heights. It's one that I listened to and then kind of forgot about up until recently when I was trying to figure out which albums I really loved this year, and listened to it again. And I was like, no, this is still really good. I love the guitar in that band. Please listen to it. It's really good. Tokyo Police Club, I've been a fan of for a very long time. They're just a really fun Canadian poppy rocky band out of Ontario, I believe. And they had a new album come out this year called Force Field. It was really good. It was good enough, in fact, that after my driving shift for Desert Bus this year, me and Ashley immediately left and went to their concert.
Right.
Which was a lot of fun. So
but
definitely,
possibly,
it was not a.
Unfortunate
it was
the next day.
It was not a wise life choice, but it was fun and I enjoyed it. The only problem being that I missed the one song that I really wanted to hear live because they played it first and we were about 10 minutes late. So that sucked.
I was actually thinking, with like Tokyo Police Club and like Boards of Canada, different stuff like that. I was actually a little bit surprised that the rural Alberta Advantage was actually from Alberta. It seems rather unusual.
Yeah.
In the realm of
architecture in Helsinki.
Next one on my list is one. This is in no particular order, by the way. I haven't figured that out yet. Is an album that if you listen to my stream, you will be very, very aware of, and that is Big Giant Circles of Glory Days. It's an album that I got to listen to in like the summer of 2013 because he sent it to all of us because we did a little video for his Kickstarter, and he's like, if you guys are going to do this for me, that's awesome. Here's the music so you can hear what you're going to be sort of, recommend, like doing a little video for it. And I was like, sweet. And I listened to it and it was phenomenal. And it officially came out earlier this year. and we've been listening to it basically every Thursday for a year. So I apologize if that's overkill, but it's the music I have basically the rights to play, and I love it. So
that's been like the soundtrack to your stream.
it has been the soundtrack to my stream, absolutely. And not just that album, but all of Jimmy's music. I really enjoy him. He's just a super nice guy, and I want to support that guy so much. Saint Vincent.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So this album is so good. It is really, really, really good. And I know there's a few podcasts I listened to and a couple reviews I've read who said, if you get the chance, go to this show. Like, go to the show. This music live is so freaking good. So that's something I'd really love to do. Did you?
I haven't been able to listen to it very often. I don't know what happened with that album because I love her and I haven't given it any time at all. And I feel really bad about that because she's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love to go see. She was here a couple of years ago, and I wound up missing the show. But apparently, she basically sets fire to guitars live because she's just such a machine on them.
Wow.
Seems good.
All right. Next up, Stars. No One Is Lost came out this year. I've been a big fan of Stars for a very long time. I've seen them in concert numerous times, and I'm seeing them again next year, and I'm really excited. That being said, I wasn't actually like super crazy about this album. I love it because it's Stars. I don't think I love it because it's a great album. But again, it's another one that I would highly suggest checking out. Taylor Swift, 1989 is absolutely going to make this list. I listened to this album when it first came out, and I was like, that was fun. I'll probably never listen to this again. And then I did. And because when I first listened to it, I was like, there's not much here. Like, this was fun. It's a fun poppy album. Good for you. See catchy stuff and whatnot. And then I think the music videos helped a lot. The music video for Shake It Off is amazing. The music video for Blank Space is probably one of my favorite music videos of the year. It's it's so good.
She's really scary in that video.
She's incredibly scary in that video.
That song is really weird and freaky.
But I love it. It's so good.
And it is very clearly lovely Starbucks lovers.
Yes, apparently that's what it is. The War on Drugs. Did you listen to this album, Cam?
No.
Lost in the Dream. I would highly suggest you checking it out. I think you would like it. And then honorable mentions go to Best of Booty 2014, which just came out like the other day. I've had a chance to listen to it once. And it's just so much fun. Like I don't feel like I need to overanalyze that album. It's just this fun music to like. I love putting it on and driving around, listening to it. It's just Please do that.
I mean, I guess sort of a combination of album or a song and internet thing. The DJ Earworm's new 2014 mix is pretty good.
It's pretty impressive too. And then this morning, this is the last thing I discovered this morning, was Real Big Fish, who was one of my favorite bands when I was in high school, released a short holiday album this year. And it is. I listened to it like, are they doing, honestly, like an hour ago.
Old Christmas songs, but like
not really. No. You need to listen to it. I'm not going to try to explain it to you.
They're ska-ifying Christmas songs.
They're definitely ska-ifying Christmas songs. The only song that I think
Jingle Bells. But
no, they did. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, and I think that's the only song that they actually covered. Everything else is sort of a weird original thing going on.
I remember one time my brother used to work at do a show at CFUV, the university radio station, and they did like a Christmas thing of like weird alternative Christmas song. And it's saying that like any like rappers or rock musicians or anybody who is not like they're just trying to be like, hey, this will be a fun Christmas song. The way to tell, it'll always start with sleigh bells. You like that? And then they'll like go in to do whatever they're going to do. But
the diagnostic Christmas sound.
All right, so that was all my music.
Nice.
All right. I don't actually know. I don't know if you guys are super down into podcasts.
I listen to This American Life every once in a while.
Okay, well then listen to Serial.
Will do.
I mean, I've I've talked about that at length for the last basically the last week since I started listening to it. But forget about the subject material, the case, everything like this. The team that produced this podcast did such an incredible job. I was talking to a friend last night, and he's also just a giant fan. I think he's listened to the whole thing twice now, he said. And I was like, I don't even care what season 2 could be about a missing dairy cow, and I would listen to all 12 episodes because the way they present just the entire it's just so well done, and I just really loved it.
I mean, it's quite interesting. Like, I feel like podcasts have sort of split into, I mean, I guess it's not necessarily a new thing, but this idea of like people who have sort of almost, I guess, people who have come from more of like a radio background, where you get these really highly produced podcasts that are just that are really great, obviously take a lot more time. And then you have podcasts like our podcast,
yes,
which is people sitting around talking, which is also fun to listen to.
Yeah, but
it's a different
it is a very
experience. It's less sort of thing. I mean, speaking of which, I don't think it's not new, but I still really enjoy listening to Mark Rosewater's Drive to Work.
Yep.
I usually, if you do check out Drive to Work, I would suggest, at least for me, I basically skip most of the episodes that aren't the set where he like does sort of set reviews, or not reviews, but set rundowns.
Yeah.
And those are, especially if you want to like one to start with, his Unglued set rundown. He goes through every single card in it because he just basically designed the entire set himself. And he's like, and he has stories about basically every card in the thing. And it's pretty amazing if you want to hear sort of cool, weird Magic the Gathering background info, like this card was originally this card from here, or like this card was supposed to be in this set like 2 sets ago, but we couldn't fit it in, so we had to like shove it into this set. Or like, why is this card so weird?
Sweet.
Stuff like that. So neat. I like that. And also the How Did This Get Made podcast is the one that I really, really enjoy.
That is one I am subscribed to.
I don't know if I've like started listening to new.
I mean,
actually, again, not a new podcast, but the Penn Jillette's podcast,
Sunday School.
Yeah. But specifically, in a couple months ago, he did a really great interview with, rather than their sort of standard thing where they just kind of bullshit for an hour and a half. This was just a long form interview with the amazing Randy. He's sort of a very famous skeptic and basically a mentor to Penn and Teller. And so it's a wonderful conversation between, two friends, and they talk about how they met and all this kind of stuff, and about skepticism and Randy's life and stuff. And it's really exciting.
Sweet.
Really interesting to look at.
Jumping back to, and this isn't a new podcast, and I mean, we don't need to talk about necessarily things that started in 2014, but Limited Resources. That is a fantastic podcast, and Marshall does a great job, and he's definitely currently going through a bit of transition period, but talking with him, he's super excited about what the future holds for that. So I mean, definitely listen to Limited Resources, especially if you're a Magic player.
In terms of new in 2014, the 1-for-1.
The 1-for-1 is very good. It's not one that happens often.
No.
I think he's done 5 or 6 episodes. The most recent, though, being interviewing Liz Smith. Damn it, Liz.
Oh, nice.
So a little bit of a close connection there, but his 1-for-1 podcast is incredibly interesting.
And that's sort of a little bit more produced than the sort of standard.
It's a little bit more produced, but it's also very it has a very story vibe to it. There's nothing magic about it, except for he talks to some magic people, but it's very, let's talk about you, your life, how you got here. I mean,
I find like for me, that's one of the things that I find really neat on podcasts is it is a opportunity, like even on the radio or on TV or in different other mediums, you don't have that opportunity to have like an hour and a half long conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
Because the great thing about a podcast is there's no, nobody's saying, time.
Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. NPR's All Songs Considered is a great podcast for music discovery. once a week these guys
Like
will
that
come
and
out.
RDO, and you're pretty much set.
That and RDO. So I've been listening to this podcast for probably about a year and a bit now. Late last year I started listening to it, and yeah, they have such a varied taste in music, and they definitely don't discriminate against anything. You'll hear all sorts, and I love that about it because it definitely lends itself well to discovery. And then finally, the last one I have, which they haven't made a lot of, but when they do, it's a really interesting. It's the Daily Show podcast without Jon Stewart. It is a podcast that I think I can't remember how many episodes there are, but it basically just think of people at the Daily Show and then get rid of John, and that's your podcast. So correspondents, writers, producers, everybody sort of behind the scenes, right? And you get their take on, what it's like to work there, and they just talk about stories and, news and all that sort of stuff. It's cool. It's really cool to get sort of their side. Is
it video?
Non-scripted. It's just audio. In fact, everything I just listed is audio only. Right. We're one of those weirdos who does video too. Hi.
Yeah. I actually really need to broaden the podcasts I listen to, because I listen to just entry tier stuff. Right?
It's one of the main reasons why I don't have my favorite new album of the year is that podcasts are mostly what I'm listening to when I'm working around the house and stuff.
I love podcasts, but my biggest problem with them is I don't feel like they always need, or I feel like they need my 100% undivided attention, right? And it's hard to find the time to. It's why I like Serial so much, to be honest, is with the exception of I think 3 of the 12 episodes, they're all half an hour to 40 minutes.
Right.
With the 3 long ones still clocking in under an hour, 55, 56 minutes. And it's so easy for me to just sit down and essentially spend the amount of time it would take me to watch a half an hour or an hour long TV show and just listen to a podcast, where with something like limited resources, now it's I'm investing an hour and a half. Set reviews are just obscene. I don't even listen to the set reviews anymore because I just don't have the time, and I don't feel like if I just have it on in the background, I'm not going to absorb the information that they're trying to get across. So kind of why bother? But
I usually listen to the set reviews over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like I get the information more by kind of osmosis,
Yeah.
I'm not sitting there and looking up the card as they say it or anything like that. But I feel like it gives me a general feeling for the set.
That's fair.
But yeah.
But yeah, no, Cam, you should definitely.
Yeah, because I listen to This is American Life, Wiretap, and the New Yorker Fiction podcast.
Wiretap is very good.
Yeah.
Radio Lab's also.
Yeah, everyone always tells me to listen to Radio Lab, and I'm I really should. This sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Right, and just forget about it. So yeah, I'll
New Year's resolution.
Definitely
listen to more podcasts.
Yeah, set aside an hour a day. Yeah, what's next on the block?
TV shows.
Ooh.
What do you got, Cam?
The shows that I watched this year were Legend of Korra.
Yep.
I burned through both book 3 and book 4. Because I think book 3 actually came out over the summer, now that I think about it. But yeah, I'm sure everyone here has seen it. I think there's probably a huge overlap in our fan base between Avatar fans and, just because it's a general nerdery thing. But I thought I thought it did a wonderful job of examining a lot of the turmoils of the 20th century. The idea of modernity as this very destabilizing, scary thing that people had a lot of trouble adjusting to in the early 20th century. And that caused a lot of didn't cause, but inspired a lot of dread, and how societies deal with, massive upheaval. And actually I just watched the series finale last night through entirely legal means. And it involved a giant fighting robot, and that was pretty sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Always good to put that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it actually had a coherent thematic reason too, because it was if the Avatar is the personification of kind of this harmony between discordant elements, then the Colossus was this embodiment of a single person's ego that had consumed the resources of an entire nation to produce. And so, like, and because she's the character who created the Colossus is kind of like she's a stand-in for fascism and totalitarianism. So the entire, like, it's literally it's basically like the Avatar versus the body politic, with a lot of punching and like ray guns.
Sweet.
So, yeah, it was pretty fun. What else did I watch this year? I mean, everyone watches Game of Thrones. Oh, Cosmos. Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos.
I completely forgot about that.
A Space-Time Odyssey.
Yeah.
Which I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson has anywhere near Carl Sagan's talents for words.
No.
Julie and I went back and watched the original series again, and not only is Carl Sagan just like incredibly articulate and literate, but he does these incredibly long takes where he talks to the camera for like 2 or 3 minutes in this, like, well, in just this unbroken statement that feels like an essay.
Yeah.
In how precisely worded it is.
And yeah, I mean,
his
there's a certain almost like poetry, you know, it's almost sort of poetic how he talks sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, absolutely, it's scripted, right? Like,
Right.
he wrote it down and tuned it and tuned it and tuned it. But it feels conversational while also being like a moving argument for a certain thing. Like, if you go back and listen to Who Speaks for Earth, in particular, his soliloquy on nuclear weapons, I think, is still moving and relevant 30 years later. That being said, Neil deGrasse Tyson is also a very stirring speaker. And I think he makes, like, even though this series, every episode is only 40 minutes, whereas the original Cosmos was, 60 because it was on PBS and this is on Fox and needs to run ads, he doesn't have as much time to fully explore his ideas. But he still makes this passionate argument for the importance of science and what science really is, because a lot of people, I think, confuse it as an ideology, whereas really it's an ethos. It's a way of doing things.
Right.
And he's very clear about that. And also, very importantly, I thought Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos focused on the contributions of women and people of color.
Yep.
To our society's body of knowledge. So focusing on that while also like, but not to the exclusion of anyone else, was important, because like you have to talk about Newton, you have to talk about Rutherford, you have to talk about Hawking, right?
Right.
But also like telling the stories of people like Annie Jump Cannon, I thought was very important. If I had one episode to recommend to people, it would be The Clean Room.
Yes.
Which is the episode that focuses on lead toxicity and lead in gasoline, and how it was essentially like banned, and why.
I mean, I really like that the idea of this sort of, that something like that sort of that it exists at all, and this idea of not necessarily, I mean, you're imparting information about, various scientific topics, but sort of the more important overarching thing is the sort of context that it's all in, is this idea of that this is just sort of scratching the surface of all these topics.
Right.
And that if any of this interests you,
go deeper.
Go
Branch
deeper.
out,
yeah.
And I feel like that's something that has, like, I remember hearing that, when Reading Rainbow got canceled off PBS, right? It got canceled because the powers that be at the sort of education thing were more, they wanted to be like, no, we want to teach, we want programs that are actually like, 1 + 1 is 2. Like,
right.
we want programs that are actually teaching kids specific skills,
right?
As opposed to programs that are just like, that are just teaching kids sort of the excitement of learning.
Right.
And I think that's something that's actually a mistake. Like, I feel like the excitement of learning and of science and of that kind of stuff is far more important than the actual, like, individual facts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you can do primary education quite easily, but it's much more interesting and important well, I mean, not more important, but it's probably equally important to teach educability, right? In order to inspire people and encourage people to learn on their own and to seek out answers. But one thing that I felt that was very important that Cosmos did specifically in the clean room was that it told a story about a scientist who, testifies before Congress and does like the big inspiring thing about removing lead from gasoline. But it starts off not there. It starts off with this question about how old the Earth is,
Right.
and how you can establish that, and the way that we know that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, because that's what this guy was working on when he made these discoveries, and it draws a line from the very abstract things, the very abstract questions that scientists ask, to very concrete and immediate health benefits for the entire population.
Yeah,
so
this idea that you can't necessarily predict where the innovation is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So it not only established that science gives us health benefits and makes our society better, but that it comes from some sources that are very difficult to anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other TV shows that you can think of, Cam?
Not off the top of, well, none that were super important.
All right. Paul.
I mean, stuff that I sort of enjoyed this year. I mean, sort of, I guess I enjoyed it more as a web thing than a TV thing, but this week, last week
tonight, John Oliver.
John Oliver's show was, I mean, he was just hitting out of the park every week.
Yep.
I watched it on YouTube because they put all their segments up on.
Yep.
But it was that was absolutely wonderful, and really, obviously disturbing in all the right ways.
Yes.
I've been really enjoying. I mean, it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has turned out
It's on my list.
Has been, I think, just getting better.
Yep.
Especially in the more, I am fairly deeply invested in the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe and having the connections and stuff. And basically, ever since the Thor: The Dark World or whatever it is, the new Thor movie,
Yeah.
it just really kicked into high gear.
Yeah.
And then with the Captain America movie also and that kind of stuff. So it's really, I'm a huge fan of that, and I'm really looking forward to the
second half of the
second half, but also the new series, the like old S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agent
series.
Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be so those are like the main ones. I just, for some reason, I was watching it and then I sort of stopped, and now I've just started getting back into or started watching Knights of Sidonia again.
Oh yeah,
And I've really been enjoying that.
yeah, that series was rad.
Yeah, just as it's nice because it's often with some anime series, it's like, well, you got to watch it. And maybe like the first like 3 seasons, first like 100 episodes or so are kind of not that great,
kind of shaky.
but it really
stride.
kicks in the thing. Whereas Knights of Sidonia, there's like 12 episodes in total, right? So it's much more sort of digestible, and lots of neat sort of sci-fi ideas, right?
Yeah, well,
lots of when they like fire the heavy mass cannon, and it's like, oh crap, some bad stuff's going down.
Yeah, fire the heavy mass cannon, and they just fire a slug of ice the size of like the moon.
And it's like, wow, some very cool sort of not hard sci-fi, but sort of hardish sci-fi.
Yeah, medium poached.
Actually, sci-fi that really sort of and like just even turning the ship is like a massive undertaking and that kind of stuff. So I dig that.
I also really like the monster design in Knights of Sidonia, and I love the scale of it. Like it just communicates so well how empty and weird space is going to be. Like when they talk about finding the object in space where they got the Kabi, and it's just like this pyramid in space that's perforated, and who built it? Don't know. It was floating out there. I guess we kind of lucked across it,
and we had to go.
And just the fact that they've lost communication with all the other seed ships, and they mentioned at one point that like the last one they were talking to, which they lost contact with a century ago, was like on a 1 degree different course than they were.
Right.
And over the span that they've been traveling, it's just now way too far away for them to ever to talk to again.
Yeah.
But what else? What else did I really like about? Just the fact like whenever they did, like Attack on Titan did this thing where it would have, a little hope and then it would get quashed, and then they'd have hope and it would get quashed, and it was exhausting. Knights of Sidonia does something similar where they develop a new technology or they get a new insight, and they run across suddenly a threat that scales to it a bit, and that's probably just like a video game thing. You get a +1 sword and suddenly you have encounter enemies that have resistance to everything but +1 swords. But I really thought it was kind of cool when they developed the ability to fire the slugs that can kill the aliens at range, and then they just encounter a ship that's made up of 4,000 of them, whereas before one of them was really cool.
It's like,
or
whoops.
really scary.
So I think that's the main stuff for me. I mean, this is sort of the first year that I've been like big into having a Netflix subscription, and so I've been like, all this stuff that I can check out now.
All right, here's my list. I'll go through quick. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's on that list. That show is so freaking good now. Like, it got off to a very slow start, and everybody was like, I just want a show that's like tied in with MCU, and now you have that, and you have no excuse, and you need to watch this show because it's so much fun. True Detective.
Oh yeah,
that show is incredible. Please go watch that show. And I'm very excited for the second season.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson and what's his name?
Matthew McConaughey.
Thank you. Were absolutely mind blowing in that.
Yeah, I would not have
show.
expected anyone to be able to wring those kind of performances out of them.
Nope.
But like the 4th and 5th episodes in particular, like the 4th episode is where they do the raid.
Yeah.
And then the 5th episode is the one where they, with that long unbroken shot at the end, I think.
No, at the end.
Yeah.
With them going through that neighborhood. And
yeah.
That thing was incredible, yeah.
Yeah, those are just 2 excellent hours of television.
Yeah. The Leftovers. It is a show that I don't think got a whole lot of love. Kind of a cool premise, though. One day, 2% of the population of Earth just ups and disappears. Gone. Just gone. No explanation, no nothing, just gone. And this show takes place a handful of years, or like 2 or 3 years later. It's just about this tiny little town and somewhere in America, I can't remember. And it's just basically, it's not a what happened. It's a what the fuck do we do now? Like,
right.
I couldn't even imagine being in that mind state where it's just like, what's to stop this from happening again, right? Like that's that's theoretically what's going through the minds of basically everyone, being like, why this could just happen again, and it could just be me, and we don't know where they go. So definitely go watch that. And that's 2 HBO shows, I think, and we're going to keep that train rolling with Silicon Valley. That is Mike Judge's new show, the genius who brought us Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. It is about a small startup in Silicon Valley. The guy sort of creates something kind of accidentally that's basically mind-blowing. He invents a way to compress files beyond, it's not based in reality. You can't compress a file this much yet, but he creates a way to do this, and somebody wants to give him a whole bunch of money, and another person's like, no, don't take the money. Here's some seed money. Go build your business, become a billionaire. And he does it, and it's a lot of fun. It's like 6 episodes long. It's not a huge investment of time. Go watch it. Rick and Morty from Dan Harmon, Community Mastermind. That show is messed up. It is an animated series. It's weird. It's terrifying. It's brilliant, and it's funny, and I want you to watch it. The Newsroom, Aaron Sorkin. That show got a lot of shit, and probably rightfully so in a lot of cases, certainly. But I am just a sucker for Sorkin's writing and his dialogue, and it's, I understand it's often stupid and not at all based in reality, and the second season it wasn't very good, but this last season I thought it was really fun, and I enjoyed it, and it went out sort of on a high note. Like,
I really enjoyed the episode where they had the EPA like assistant director.
Yep.
Who was just like, and at the last question he asked him is like, "Are you going to get in trouble for saying this out loud?" And he's like, "Who cares?"
Yeah, who cares? The Colbert Report ended last night, and it was such a good ending to that series. And I am super sad to see it go. It is a show that I think I actually probably like more than any other of those. If you like compare it to like The Daily Show or Last Week Tonight, Colbert has always stood out as sort of my favorite. And I was super sad last night to see it go, but excited to see what he does with the Late Show come the new year. Mm-hmm. All right, that's all my movies.
Or TV, that's TV shows.
Those are TV shows. Man, we still have okay, we got to go fast here.
Okay.
There's so much stuff. Movies. I'm just going to list off my movies. The Lego Movie. That movie was phenomenal. I love the ending of that. Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes.
Yes. I just saw that like a week ago.
Yep.
Because it showed up on Netflix.
Yep.
And it was, I'm only kind of medium on
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Yep.
Like I've kind of gone back and forth on him, and it was not what I expected.
No,
but I quite enjoyed it.
I'm a sucker for stories about storytelling. So like the Grand Budapest Hotel was laser targeted directly at me.
Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yep. Super fun.
Just super fun. Like we don't need to talk at length of them, but they're just great fun movies. And the one last movie I have down here, there was a lot of great movies this year, but the one that sort of stuck out for me still is Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Which I think actually the three of us saw together.
Yes.
You will probably see it more sold to you as Live, Die, Repeat now. But when back in the day when we saw it 6 months ago, it was called Edge of Tomorrow.
Which is a terrible name.
Yeah, it
is the most forgettable name.
Yeah.
Yep. But man, that movie was was so good.
It could easily be a romantic comedy.
It had
with that name.
Yeah, it had no right to be as enjoyable as it was.
Yeah.
It looked like a super generic Tom Cruise sci-fi movie.
And only half the enjoyment was just watching Tom Cruise die over and over again.
Yeah. All right, what do you guys got for movies?
I don't actually have that much to add to that.
Yeah, no, I'd really like to second like Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America 2. Captain America 2 I thought was really good just for its... I love Cap just because... Surprise! I didn't read the Avengers as a kid.
Nope,
I didn't really read comics at all.
No, nor did I.
The MCU is kind of my introduction to it. I like Captain America way more than I thought I ever would, just because he is like the antithesis of our kind of modern cynicism about politics. He's just such a good guy.
Yeah.
And you really like. I believe in that America. That's an America I want to.
Yeah,
I
sort of
in.
idealistic.
Yep.
But the two movies that I saw this year that I thought were really standouts were Tim's Vermeer and Jodorowsky's Dune. And I talked about Dune a lot, mainly because Jodorowsky is so weird. But they're both movies about people setting out to make things and how they go about doing that, how they fail, how they succeed, how extraordinarily talented people can get themselves into trouble.
Yeah, Tim's Vermeer, I actually really, I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, because I was afraid it was going to be this thing about, because the Tim figures he's got a handle on how Vermeer did his paintings, because Vermeer's light in particular is more accurate than the human eye can perceive.
Right.
And so he figures that Vermeer used an optical trick, right, where he was using a series of lenses and mirrors in order to match the colors on the easel to what he is seeing. And it's like a technology that would have been easily accessible in 17th century Holland. And he thinks he replicates it, and he paints. He manages to replicate one of Vermeer's paintings, and he even finds evidence that Vermeer used the same thing, because there's like certain straight lines that are bent in the way that you would expect if you were using a lens.
Right.
And I was worried that it was going to turn into this thing where it's like, oh, Vermeer was just like taking photographs, but he very clearly states that, like, this is brilliant. Like, what he did here was brilliant, and like, even if you think he's just tracing, which requires its own talent. The composition of the paintings are all his. And this doesn't diminish him as an artist at all, right? And it looks at like what artistry really is.
Right.
So, yeah,
And-
I was really happy with it. It gave me feels.
And I like the idea of and this sort of idea that it's like you can, what you can accomplish. This guy as somebody who is not artistically inclined, what you can accomplish if if you are willing to put. Obviously, this guy put like a year.
Yeah.
I think it was like 6 months of actual painting.
Yes.
And then like 5 years of setting up to do the painting.
Well, and there's that one interview they do with him where he's like, I've been working on this now for 4 months.
Yeah.
And I think I've proven my point at this right by now, but you're making this movie, so I can't stop. If you weren't here, I would have given up.
Yeah.
So now I have to finish this thing. And his eyes are like all bloodshot and he looks exhausted and he looks terrible.
Oh, dear.
Like he wants to be doing anything else but finishing this painting. But now he's stuck with it.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Video games? You got more for movies?
That's my movies.
All right. Let's talk about video games.
Dark Souls is so sweet.
Minecraft is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be pretty easy actually to figure out our favorite video games. Just do like a time analysis of streaming.
Well, yeah, no, like if you went off the streams, then my favorite game is Minecraft, which it probably is, but definitely not representative of what else I played this year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just run through my list here: Destiny, Titanfall, Mario Kart 8, Geometry Wars 3, South Park: Stick of Truth, Shadow of Mordor, which I haven't actually played much of, but what I have played of it was awesome, and what I've seen of it is great. Monument Valley plus the expansion. I just beat the expansion the other day. Monument Valley, the original game, when it came out on the iPad, I sat down and I played it, and 3 hours later I beat it, and it was probably 3 of the best hours of playing a video game this year I've had, to be honest. It was really good. So do that. Transistor. And another game that I haven't played enough of, but the little I have played is Divinity Original Sin. That is my list of sort of some of the best video games of this year. All of which I want to play more of, except for like South Park, which I beat.
It's funny. I was like, I was thinking about, it's like, geez, what games have I been, playing this year that I really enjoyed, stuff. And I was sort of looking through like what I've in the games I have, and I was sort of looking through a list of games that I played, and like, I haven't really played that many games this year because I was playing Assassin's Creed 4 for so much of the year. So what would be my favorite game of the year? I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I guess it's the one that I was playing for like 4 months.
Yeah, the one that's such a part of your life that it's become transparent.
Yeah. So Assassin's Creed 4 I played for a really long time, just because it's a long game, and also I was enjoying it and doing all the little weird stuff. And then a game that I played on stream, and hopefully brought some people to Creeper World 4 or Creeper World 3.
Yeah.
Which is a great sort of RTS tower defense hybrid weird game that it's weird. Somehow it just tickles that right part of my brain that I literally still play it. Like I played it yesterday because there's a constant stream of user created levels coming out for it that are doing all sorts of new, different, cool things. And there's like a scripting system for it and all this stuff. So you can, the content for it just keeps coming. And I just find it's just like, a game takes, depending on the level, it can take like 15 minutes to like an hour. And so it's just like, I'll just play a little Creeper World now. just like fit it in between things and stuff. So I've been really enjoying that. So those were like the main games that I would say that I really enjoyed this year, especially playing by myself. I mean, I enjoyed streaming other stuff, but
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what games came out this year that I wound up playing a lot of. I guess the standout was Valiant Hearts. which I
yeah.
really enjoyed. I
Yep.
was looking forward to that, and I was not disappointed with it. I realize I'm probably the only person who doesn't like sob at the end of it, but that's because I'm hard.
You're a monster.
I'm just unshakable. I experience no feels. Yeah, other than that, I don't have any real standout games this year. Beyond Earth kind of let me down a little bit. I'm hoping it gets better with expansions.
I mean, XCOM was 2013, right?
Yeah. I think I'm confident the expansion was also 2013. If it's not, easily my goatee, considering how much time I spent with it. No, I'm drawing a blank on games. I honestly don't do as much gaming anymore. Now that I've started streaming, I don't game at home, other than like I've been playing through Dragon Age Origins a bit, which is fun. But
All right. Okay, that's it for video games. Let's wrap this up with. Did you have another one?
Oh no, I was just. What's the next?
Internet stuff. Did you have another section?
I just wanted to say my favorite book this year was William Gibson's The Peripheral.
Oh, okay, cool.
I thought it really.
I had a section for books, but it was like we're running late. But
okay.
Now I'm going to say my favorite book, which was Eric Schlosser's Command and Control. Which I don't actually think came out this year. I think it came out last year, but I don't care. I read it this year, and it was such a good book. Have you read this book, Cam?
No.
You need to read this book. It is about nuclear weapons and the history of them and how they've been maintained over the years, and stories about
how they haven't been
maintained. Stories about how they very much haven't been maintained. It is such a great book. Definitely, I think you would really enjoy it. I just bought it for my dad for Christmas because I think he's going to love it. So definitely,
yeah, that sounds like my jam.
Yeah, it was very good. So I'll give you an idea of what I mean when I say internet videos and YouTube channels and stuff like that. Although it's basically self-explanatory. It would be we can't go through this without mentioning the Ice Bucket Challenge. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. There was a lot of looking at year-end reviews, a lot of people were very cynical towards it, which I thought was interesting because at the end of the day, it did raise a crap ton of money. I think it maybe lasted a little longer than it should have, but
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like if it was just a meme, then it would be like, oh, that was dumb. But it's hard to say that it's like, though that was dumb and kind of a waste of time when it did actually raise a whole ton of money for a really worthwhile charity. Like it's that sort of covers, and it's like, well, it kind of overstayed its welcome. Well, who cares?
Yeah. That's like saying Desert Bus went on for one day too long.
Yeah.
Too freaking bad.
Deal with it, nerd.
Too many cooks.
Yeah, I've never been so happy before that something went viral the week after Halloween.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there would have been like wall-to-wall sexy too many cooks stabsman outfits.
Now, that being said, have you seen Adult Swim's newest infomercial?
No.
The bear thing?
The 10 minute of bear footage or whatever that actually did you watch the whole thing?
I watched like half of it and I got kind of tired and went away.
Okay. This thing was messed up. Like this is a very different type of video.
I don't entirely subscribe to the like Adult Swim, the sort of like weird for weirdness sake.
I mean, I don't necessarily.
Weird creepiness.
I mean,
is funny thing.
I don't know if it was even necessarily supposed to. Like, I don't think it was supposed to be funny. I think it's just. I feel like they give these creators sort of free reign and go, here you go, like do what you're gonna do, and then they come back with this 10-minute thing that they're gonna put in at like 4 a.m. and terrify somebody. Like, Too Many Cooks was weird and it was funny and it was almost cute, and it was like, okay, if I'd seen this at 4 a.m. and I was like high out of my mind, I probably would have been like, what is going on?
Right.
This newer one, I would have actually probably broken my TV and ran as far as I could because it is completely and utterly messed up, but it's like, it's still really interesting. It's still something that, I think has a place to exist, certainly. But, man, like, are they just actively trying to kill people in the morning, the wee hours of the morning, by like terrifying them with these things? I don't know. What else did I write down? My for YouTube channels, my 3 favorite YouTube channels are actually essentially the same as Vsauce 1, 2, and 3. I love these guys, specifically Vsauce 1. Just these sort of long form videos that start with this sort of weird topic that
sort of free association.
Yeah, and he just sort of rolls into different things and go to his YouTube channel and look for the how big are humans, like the reach of a human or something like that. It's like how big can we get? How big can our smell become? And it's my favorite episode. It's probably also one of the longer ones. It's like 15 minutes, but if you watch that and you don't just absolutely love it and want to watch all of his other things, I don't think it's for you, but it is really good. And then the other 2 guys they're funny and they do both sort of informative stuff and at the same time funny stuff, and like they show you cool stuff you can buy on the internet. There's just a really cool channel. I'd highly recommend going to check them out.
Okay, right. Yeah, I remember you showing the how big is a human?
Yeah.
And that was just one of those questions that has like a deceptively complex answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean that's sort of what they go in for. There's actually one of my always sort of go-to YouTube channels is Barely Political.
Yep.
They do the Key of Awesome and lots of other things. But one of the things they did actually with the Vsauce 1 guy is, or actually all the Vsauce guys, is they did a parody commercial for it was like Vsauce Glass, which is like Google Glass, but with Vsauce. So it's like, hey, Vsauce Glass, what's the way to, how to get to the supermarket? And then like the Vsauce, what's the guy's name?
I can't even remember
I don't
now.
know. He like pops up on the thing. He's like, well, you want to go left, but do 3 lefts make a right? Well, on the surface of a globe, if you go 3 lefts, you'll actually end, or if you go 3 right angles, you actually end up in a different spot. Doing all this stuff. It's like, that was totally useless.
Yeah.
It's really
That's
funny.
awesome.
So I would highly recommend Barely Political. They're just great. I mean, they just do sort of sketch comedy stuff as well as excellent music video parodies.
Cool. Got anything, Cam?
I guess this year the one thing that really made an impression on me was Neuromancer, which was
okay.
just a photo blog. I don't know if it made like a huge impression on me, but I thought it was like one of the things that was super cool. At least it's just a photo blog of the weird intersection of humanity and weaponry and technology, like information technologies, cybernetics, and it's curated by color, so it's very visually striking.
That's
I don't think it means anything in particular, but it looks pretty.
Yeah.
And of course, r/popping.
Yeah,
Yes.
r/popping. Don't go to that at work.
Actually, in terms of I think probably mentioned it before, but my favorite subreddit is r/ask science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so wonderful. If you want in-universe explanations for like, why didn't Gandalf just get the eagles to take them to the thing, or all sorts of stuff, which actually has a totally reasonable explanation.
Yeah.
If you have read like every single thing that
'cause
Tolkien has written.
Isn't that one to do with the fact that the eagles are actually, they're not eagles as in they're animals, but they are functionally angels of the creator god?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
can't just like hail them.
Did
like
you guys
would a
actually?
taxi.
Did you guys? Speaking of YouTube channels, really quickly, did you guys watch the latest CPG? Is it CPG?
CGP Grey.
Yeah, his latest episode on
Yeah.
Tolkien. Oh my god, I'll show it to you afterwards, Cam. It's great.
Okay.
But yeah, there's explanations for people who have or like stuff from comic books and stuff, which I'm always fascinated by, that stuff where it's like, I don't personally have enough time to go into like the in-depth detail about that stuff, but I find it fascinating. And so I like it when other people, tell me the interesting bits.
I like how science fiction always just gets trumped out by 40K.
Yeah,
Who would win in a fight? 40K.
40K.
Warhammer 40K.
Everybody likes another thing that sort of I love this year. Everybody knows and loves The Onion. Clickhole.
Clickhole is so good.
Clickhole is The Onion's answer essentially to BuzzFeed, and it's It is so good.
And then there's, of course, I think there's at least one blog or subreddit or whatever collecting in the same way as there's the stuff where it's like,
Oh, people who got fooled by
like, literally
right.
unbelievable
Oh,
is the one that there's the same thing for clickhole stuff, of course.
Yeah.
People being like, I can't believe they did this thing. It's like, well, they didn't. That's why it says like that it is not true.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah. That was
I feel like that was 2014.
Yeah, I think we've plumbed 2014 thoroughly.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see. I'm assuming they will not be listening to this before they do. The other people won't be listening to this before they do.
I hope not, because we have other things to do today. They don't
Yeah.
have time to listen to an hour and a half long podcast.
So
See if there's any overlap.
Yeah, I'd be curious how much overlap there is.
Yeah. But thank you guys for listening. I put together a list in Google Docs, so what I'll do is I'll probably throw that up in the on the forums, so you guys know, just sort of have a list of what I was talking about. You guys feel free to do the same if you want. And yeah, I think that was fun. I've been looking forward to this podcast all week, so I'm glad we got a chance to do it. And I hope you guys find something, even if it's just one thing. If everything you've heard here was like, yep, I knew about that. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I listened to it. Yeah, I read it. If there was one thing that you could walk away with, that's cool. I'm excited.
Right.
So thank you very much. And we'll see you guys in next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
What a fucking fantastic end. I'm leaving that in.
Burps. Excuse me.